Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Noisy Book Club podcast. My name is Benny. I am the manager and moderator of the Noisy Book Club. And today we are having an author book chat with the one and the only Francesca Ekwuyasi. I am so excited for this chat, this little tete-a-tete we will be having. If you don't know, Butter Honey Pig Bread was the Noisy Book Club's pick of the month of August. And Francesca is a Nigerian-Canadian writer, artist, and a filmmaker. That's what we call multi-hyphenate. She's a multi-hyphenate. And she's now best known for her debut novel, Butter Honey Pig Bread. And the book has captured the hearts of the members of our book club, but not just our book club. It has been longlisted for the Giller Prize, shortlisted for the Governor's General's Award, and it also won the Dane Ogilvy Prize for the LGBTQ2S plus emerging writers in 2022. I am giving you a personal round of applause because on your debut, to be honest, I'm
Thank
so happy.
you.
I really am.
Thank you.
Yeah, apart from being a writer and a filmmaker, you are also an artist. You have had your paper cut works displayed at in Halifax at the Kaiba to evocate, and also you've also done short documentaries like Reconcile and Black and Belonging. And currently, you are a mentor to emerging writers in the MFA fiction program at the University of King's College.
You really did your homework.
I tried my best. I tried my best. Yeah, so I'm excited because today we'll be talking about your journey to your practice that led you to butter honey pig bread and the themes around butter honey pig bread. And I am so excited. So first thing
Thank
first, how are
you.
you doing today?
Well, and thank you for having me. I really it's no small thing. I always appreciate talking with people who care about my work, and it continues to be an honor. So thank you. I'm well, and we're alive. So there's always, if as long as there's life, there's hope. So yeah, thank
We
you. How are
are.
you? How are you?
Oh my God. I'm doing great. I'm doing fine. I'm so grateful to be here. I think one of my favorite things in the world is to talk about like creativity, talk about art. I went to a whole different city for the past year and I found myself in that field and here I am in a new city standing in front of somebody whose book I've had for the past 2 years and I'm talking about it. So all in all, I'm just very, very grateful to be able to do this.
Thank
And
you.
it trumps whatever Lagos Wahala I may have experienced prior to getting here.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say let's just get into it. Let's just get into the nitty-gritty of today. Butter Honey Pig Bread was chosen by the beautiful people of the Noisy Book Club. And my God, what an experience it was. What an experience it was sitting in a room with them and just hearing so many opinions and feelings, most importantly, like fly. And I think that's one of my favorite things about like works of art, right? Is that you feel. You can have so many theoretical, academic points, but it all stems from feeling. And how did you feel when you wrote your first story? The first story you ever wrote, the first story you ever told. How did that feel? And what was the story about?
Mm. Well, I really appreciate that you bring it to feeling, because I agree. I think um like sensation, like the body as the primary way of experiencing the world is just a fact. No matter how much you want to intellectualize things, it's first we first experience anything with our senses. And so that is precisely one of my only goals when I write, is to convey a feeling, genuinely. Um, I don't really have an agenda versus beyond like ensuring that whatever I'm creating is a pleasure to experience, which is not to say like it's easy or not challenging, but a pleasure ultimately, like felt, you know? And so my first story that I ever wrote is called No One Ever Really Dies Not Here Anyways. So I don't know, I think you're young, I think you're a youth, but back in my
Try.
day,
I try my best.
back in my day in secondary school, you had to do typewriting. You had to do a
I used
typewriting
the
course.
typewriter. I'm not.
Okay, okay. So I had one for, secondary school, and I typed a little story and I showed it to my auntie. And to be honest, I think it was speculative. It was like a planet where death doesn't exist. I was just making things up, but that's what fiction is. But I felt powerful to be able to kind of draw an idea from my mind and convey it in a way that somebody else outside of me could comprehend. Like I know that's so dumb to say, but like I was like 12, maybe I was younger, like maybe 11 or something. No, I wasn't. I was 13 because I remember where we lived. We moved when I was 13 and that's where we were. So I was about 13 and I typed it up and gave it to my auntie and she was like, interesting, interesting. But I felt powerful. I felt excited. I felt like I had, I don't know, like a secret little world to myself, you know? Yeah.
Uh, thank you so much for like sharing that. I don't remember the first story I ever wrote. So the fact that you that you remember the name, you remember like what it's about, and you remember like the time and place, all these sensory things to connect you to where it comes. It shows how much you care about your practice, even
Oh, thank
before
you.
it became what it is today. And speaking of what it is today, from the 13-year-old girl who wrote that story and was excited to type it out like Edgar Allan Poe on a typewriter, and type it out, and show our aunt, like, who is she now? Like, what is your story from that little girl to the woman who is now telling stories on a larger scale?
Okay, so that's so funny. Listen, time will humble everyone. Okay, there's this interview with it's very popular now online. It's between James Baldwin and I think Nina Simone. I'll
Okay.
find it. I'll find the clip and send it to you as soon as we're done. And he's saying, James Baldwin is like, when I was younger, I knew everything. And now, I don't know anything. What a relief. Something like that. Like, what a relief. How wonderful. And I know relatively I'm still young and I'm very grateful for more life ahead. But I'm older than I've ever been in this moment. And and I feel who I am right now. I'm really just I'm learning. I think that's the most honest. I'm learning. And I'm like kind of constantly in awe, both at like the horror of reality and like the beauty, all of it. So I'm here. I'm alive. I'm grateful. Um, I'm still excited, which is something I want to hold on to. I'm thinking a lot about cynicism, and I think I'm actively, the older I get, the more I live, the more I create, the more I consume. I'm actively not resisting because that requires too much engagement, but like shunning cynicism. I never want to be cynical. Um, because it was for selfish reasons, because I think cynicism dulls creativity and I want to stay alive and in awe and um I want to be affected by I want to stay affected by the world, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. It does. Thank you. Thank you. Like, you don't have to second guess how, like, you answer a question that comes from such an honest, expressive place from you. And um, I will always appreciate that, especially talking to my friend or my mother or Wale Soyinka, like be anybody, as long as there's an it's coming from a place of honesty and self-expression, there's no need to apologize for, for that. And I
Thank
love that you
you.
mentioned, yeah, I love that you mentioned like cynicism basically being a like block towards like pure like the purity of your art because I don't think art, right? Because the question was about your journey to becoming like the person who is telling stories on a larger scale, right? I don't think art can survive in cynicism, can survive in that
Mm,
skepticism because that is stifling. Like creativity and art it's energy, and if you compress it with such a thing like skepticism, such a thing like selfishness, and believing that everybody is motivated just for themselves, then you are
mm.
stifling the energy of art. Now, this is where I ask you, does that make sense?
It completely makes sense, and I think even like, and I guess we're speaking in a particular context of we social media. We
Hmm.
see more than I don't know the exact statistic. We're always bombarded with information, but I read somewhere once that like the amount of images we've seen on within an hour is more than our ancestors ever saw in a lifetime, right? And I think as a writer, as an artist, we can be like, oh, there's no point for me to do. This person already did. This thing already exists. This concept is already explored. But
Yes.
to like really resist the cynicism of that, to be like, but my own like my own is still there's still room for whatever my own perception is, and so that yeah, exactly what you're saying, like allowing a bit of innocence,
Yeah,
and
I love
as
that.
a men. As a mentor, that's one of the things. There's the idea of defamiliarization, and so whenever I'm reading a student's work or giving feedback, I always say like, write it as if I don't know what you're talking about. Don't take for granted that I already know this turn of phrase. Don't like describe it as if I've never seen it before because I haven't. I haven't seen it from your eyes, and so I think that's part of even in the craft, like part of the process of resisting cynicism, resisting over saturation because like yeah, anyways, not to get too abstract, but I think you know what I mean.
Exactly. No, sometimes I think that's the thing about like talking from like one creative to another creative enthusiast. Conversation spreads its wings. I was going to talk
Yeah.
about like because you mentioned our ancestors not having as consumed as much images and things, that we have seen in like a week or or maybe a year in the expansion term, right? I was going to talk about neuroplasticity, but you know what? I will just email you because if we because if we start, we won't
It'll
reach
just
here.
no, I know. Okay, I'm really glad that we're establishing this now. I think we're similar in that the conversation will just keep like
It will
that.
just.
So
It has to.
please
It has
keep
to.
me in line.
I have to. I have to. Okay, so let's butter honey pig bread. I have 3 million questions to ask, but I think the first one is at the very beginning. Where did it start? Like, how, like, what was the gestation period for butter honey pig bread? When were you like, this is an idea, but this is something I have to flesh out and give birth
Mm,
to?
mm.
I'm trying to talk like an Ogbanje.
No, I know the exact moments because I spoke to my friend. There's an artist, and you should look her up. She's brilliant. Adama Delphine Fawundu. She is based in the States. She's West African. I think her family is Liberian, I think, or Sierra Leonean. Please fact check before
Yeah, I'm
using that.
writing her
But
name down right now.
yeah, she's wonderful. So we met in Lagos. She was doing some research. The photographer. Her work is very image based. And she was doing research, and we met through some friends. And I was telling her I had moved. I had just moved. I was 23. I had just moved from the States back home, and I was just like, what will be will be. I don't know what is next in my life other than NYSC. But I was reading. I was back at my childhood. I used to go to a library in. I grew up in Ikoyi on Awolowo Road, and there was a library across. It's not across, but it's close to Church of the Assumption, which is still there, but the library is not there anymore. There was a Goodies, which is also not there anymore. But the library was beside Goody's near Church of the Assumption, and I used to go there. It was a very small library. And when I went back as a 23-year-old, when I went back home, I went back to the library. I was rereading books I had loved. And I remember all the books vividly. Feeling Sorry for Celia, which is this like the writer I think is Australian, but the entire book is in letters. It's epistolary. And I was reading Feminist Road by Ben Okri. There was a collection of Wole Soyinka's poetry called Abiku. I was reading that. Yeah, I was just kind of back in my child thing, the books I'd picked up. I did youth corps. I finished camp, and I met Delphine, and we were talking about art and photography because I was really into photography. I was wanting to be a photographer. I had a little camera and everything, and so I was following Delphine around and we're gisting, and I told her, I want to write a book, and the three things that I know about the book are I want to write about Ogbanje because I was so moved by Wole Soyinka's Abiku. It's a short poem, and I know the Abiku and the Ogbanje are not the exact same thing, but in my imagination, I kind of think of them as like counterparts in the different cultures. So Ogbanje in Igbo, Abiku in Yoruba.
Yoruba.
I don't know if that's factual, but that's kind of how I perceive it. Um, and I want to write about Ogbanje. I want to write about twins, and I want to write about food. And I told Delphine, I was like, that's all I know. And then she also told me, I want to create this body of work. And, we shared our dreams. Um, and then, yes, I spent the next 7 years writing it. I started it that period. I wrote, I had a little flash drive and I would write and put on my flash drive and I lost the flash drive. I lost it, but the story was in my mind, and it was a slow process, right? Because I had to grow up in many ways. I had to learn how to write. The craft of writing. There's nothing um to it, but reading and practicing. Like you learn how to write by reading and writing. That's it. And I had to spend all that time reading and
Funny.
writing.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. And so it took that long because I had to learn how to write. Yeah,
From
that's,
photographer to writer.
but like, it's funny because like even all the hyphens, like who knows? I don't know how to develop film, but I'm just interested, right? So these are my interests than anything. Um, yeah, that's how it came to be, and I grew up with the manuscript, and so that's I think there's nothing like a debut novel because like the first work that you grow up with it. It took 7 years because I had to grow up. It was published when I was 30, but from 23 to 30, my life changed so much, and all of those changes were reflected in the craft of the work, but also in the themes I was exploring, displacement, oh, sorry, immigration, diaspora, family, loneliness. And those are the two of the three protagonists are more or less the same age as me. So, that part of the process was me exploring things that I was experiencing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do. I love that you mentioned that, like, first of all, I know debuts take long because there's nothing that, no, really, truly, there's nothing like your debut film, um, your debut showing as a painter. It's not like a debut novel. Because you really, for some reason, that's the one you want to get right because you don't get to do your debut twice. You know, that's one you want to get right. And 7 years is a significant amount of time. Like you've like you've gone from frontal lobe not developed to fully developed.
exactly, exactly.
You
Exactly. And the
know?
thing is, if I was writing this book today, it would be a completely different book because,
Mm.
like some of the craft choices I made with yeah, it would just be a different book because I'm a different
It would be.
person. But yeah,
I agree
yeah,
because
yeah,
I agree, and I do like knowing that because I would say that I did sense some juvenility,
of
but
course.
like it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't juvenility in the sense that like you could tell that like you grew with the book because you kept the essence of that like listlessness that listlessness in especially Thai and especially Thai, and sometimes Kende is more of that like assurance that comes with like age. She too, she's still shaky and wobbly, but there's I feel like the growth you really crept it into Thai, and I would say maybe Timmy, but we'll get there. We'll get
Yeah.
there. But that's just from the lens in which I'm viewing it.
No, that
Um,
makes sense. I'm reading a book. Oh, I can't show it to you because it's of course in the computer right now. But it's called Good Girl by Aria Aber, I think. And it's about a 19-year-old Afghan girl in Berlin. She was born and raised in Berlin. She's 19. She's experiencing the world, the city. She's interested in art. She's a photographer, and she's young. And the way I would have connected to it when I was 20, when I was 25, even when I was 30, is so different than I'm connecting it to it now. Because now I'm just like, girl, wake up.
wake
I'm like,
up.
girl, this is a bad decision. Stop it. I don't like it.
We will
Whereas
get.
at the different, yeah, anyway, I think you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean, and I know exactly like who in the book you might be talking about too, like referencing in terms of like waking up, and uh, let's get there. Like we will get to the characters. We'll get to the characters. But like we said in the beginning, keep it in line. Um, um, as a writer, especially writing your debut, is such a delicate practice, such an anxious practice, but it's one that you take with braverism. Um, how much of yourself do you debate to put inside your work? It's like
Mm,
because I, I write also, and I believe that like I write, I sing, and like songwriting and prose writing is very different. But one thing that I've learned about like that about writing in general is it's a bit sacrificial. It's a bit sacrificial. There has to be a giving. You have to give, but
mhm,
it's also like how much of that? Like how do you
mm,
control that sacrifice?
mm. But I think I'm, and like I'll say me, right? Because I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm always in the work because it's through my lens, always. Even if I'm writing about, so I'm revising a manuscript now and I'm writing about cancer. And I've done so much research about um, liver cancer and treatments of liver cancer and terminal cancer, and like just getting like into the specifics. But even though my head and my notes are full of the specifics of what this cancer can do to a body, how it can affect relationships, right? So, if, like the character I'm working on, her father has cancer, and it affects their relationship. Those objective details are still filtered through my own lens, right? It's still me projecting how this character is going to engage with it, and it's still going to be kind of how I feel about it. And the manuscripts I'm working on right now, I've done a lot of research. I'm having conversations with people because I want it to not just be all from me, but even in that process, even when I interview people, I get their opinions, and um, it still has to go through my mind.
It still has to go through your mind.
Yeah,
It's filtered through your bias. We tend to have
exactly.
we tend to have a negative connotation of bias in today's reactionary world, but it's like it makes you, it makes you who you are, and it's like if it's filtered through your lens, like it is of you. Thank you so much for like changing my perspective on how much of like you as the person bleeds into your work, because sometimes I in the process of writing I feel so scared. I feel so scared
Mm,
to be like, oh my god, what is this? It is me. I'm seeing myself on the page, and it's like, but
mm.
why should I be scared? At the end of the day, like I am doing it first and foremost for the artist that is inside
Mm.
me. Thank you so much.
I want to say that like it's okay. I mean, obviously, being afraid is fine. It's an emotion. It's part of the process. It's okay. I just want to say that. Yeah.
It's like salute. Be
Yes.
scared. Be
Be
scared.
scared.
It's
Share
human.
it. Exactly. And it shows that you're writing from a place, in my opinion, a place of authenticity if you're scared. Because if you're not scared, then you don't. I feel like you don't really care. Or if there isn't a strong protective part of yourself. I mean, I think fear is a good sign. Is my point.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So let's get into the book itself,
Hmm.
because we've talked about feelings and feelings, but which I'm like, my background is in psychology, so I love talking about feelings, so don't worry. But Taye, Kendi, and Kambirinachi, they each of these characters are so uniquely different. Even though the pair, they are twins, they are also uniquely different and very, very, very interesting and titillating, with Taye being a bit more reserved, but also more sporadic behaviorally. Kehinde being more assertive and knowing that this has happened to me, this is going. Cambria being, Cambria just struggling. That's all I would say. Just struggling. Just struggling. How did you know that, like, okay, these are the women, these women are the focal point of the story, and this is who they need to be for the story?
Mm. Yeah. So I think for the twins, I wanted I wanted like specific, like at least each of them to have one specific unwavering character traits, right? So that part felt easy. So um if Kehinde is closed, Tai is open. Like sort of a binary. If Kehinde is cautious, Tai is reckless. So that part felt kind of easy. And then for Cambrian, actually, I didn't know that was the more challenging part. I had to rely so much more on like my imagination. Like if somebody believes she's on a Ogbanje, how will she live? What choices will she make? Pretty much. Like if and it's not even that I can't use my imagination because like I don't know what it's like to be on a Ogbanje. I've never been on a Ogbanje before. Like I don't know. But
There's
I
still
but I
time.
know that's fine. But I know what it's like to believe something about yourself and how whether or not it's obvious or overt, it's impacting your decisions. Um, and yeah, so I wanted to just kind of play with that, like self-belief, even when it's in contrast with other people's beliefs. So for Cambria Nachi, her mother definitely believes she's on a Banji because in fact, her mother is the one who would know. Her mother's the one who would know. And so
Yeah, the
she
marking.
wore exactly markings. So then Cambria Nachi wore that belief. So it was really exciting. It felt very I don't know. It was a fun exploration for me where with the twins it felt more like okay in my life and in my feelings as a woman of this age these are the things I'm thinking of and I basically like made a binary and gave characteristics to each of them. Yeah.
I love that. I do love that. So basically, like Taya and Kane, are an exploration of like the 7 year growth almost. You know?
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
Cambria actually is the more like surrealist part of those reality grounded situations. Amazing.
Exactly.
Amazing. um so I am not a father yet, but we like to say that we like to pretend that parents don't have a favorite child, but we all know that's a lie. We know. And we also like to lie to ourselves that writers don't have favorite characters. So, Francesca, now that we have built reports and we've shared a few laughs and we've been through some wahala that nobody knows about,
No, they don't need to know.
they don't need to know. Be honest with me. Who's your favorite?
Oh, Candy. Yeah, it's Candy because like
I know some people who would fight you because they feel like Kehinde didn't get her due process. And then you say
man,
Kehinde is your favorite. Oh my.
I understand. And the thing is, listen, I understand. Nobody has a more scathing, critical view of my work than me. I understand. But the thing is, Kehinde is kind of who she needs to be. And I have so much respect for people who become who they need to be to survive. she didn't have the luxury of self-exploration. That was taken from her. Like she was responding to like some unspeakable, I'm not going to swear, but like some unspeakable stuff. And she was like, how can I take care of myself? And respectfully, Cambria was a bad mother. No judgments. It's okay. So
She was struggling. We've
she was
said it before, she
struggling.
was struggling.
She was struggling. And so Candy became who she needed to be. And she's my favorite character because I'm proud of her. I'm proud of her finding like art as a way to transmute hard feelings. I'm proud of her, taking the steps to repair a relationship. I'm proud of her holding herself. I'm proud of her like being open to relationships. Like I really loved her love story with Wolfie. I was enjoying myself with that love story. I love that she allowed herself to like connect with Farouk. Like I love Katie and I understand why people feel she gets a due process. But a craft thing, at least my intention with this one specific decision I made, which is around POV. Kinda is the only character who spoke for herself from the beginning to the end. Cambria eventually did, but you only know everything you know about Kinda is what she tells you. That's it, and you get some things from like because Taye is written in third person, so you're watching Taye, but you're not watching Kinda. In Kinda's like you're listening to Candy. Does that make sense? Because she's the only one in the first person. So there's a level of control there, and I respect that.
Is it? That's like the exact words. Sorry, I got so excited. But that's the exact word. That's the exact words I use. I feel like the bad thing happened, right? And that was an absolute loss of control for Candy. And the reason why I for me, why I believed Candy was written from the perspective of her talking directly to us is because she never wants to experience that loss of control ever again. So she's controlling her narrative, controlling her perspective, controlling who she lets into her life, controlling who she forgives, who she goes back to. And oh my God, I love art because you see the dissolve of their mother in two of them in the sense that this book is it's right here. I mean, it's up here, but it's also here. Like this book is a gateway, it is a gateway. Taye, Taye, you can see some parts of her mother in her relationship with Our Lady.
Hmm.
And then Kehinde being able to control this gateway in a way that neither Taye nor Kambirinachi could is so telling of what they have received from their mother. My God. My next question was going to be about like the perspectives because they're all written from different perspectives. I mean, in the beginning, Tai and Kambi are kind of written from the same perspective, but like Kambi takes control of the narrative in a very visceral way, which shocked me and I loved. I was just going to ask, like, you've already told me why, but you could buttress on that a bit more and you could tell me how it affected the journey of writing these characters.
Yeah, and so the part with Cambria where she takes a hold of the narrative, that oh man, I'm so grateful for the process of this book because I didn't know anything. I wasn't planning anything. It was, how, in like writing school or whatever, people, I didn't go to writing school, but I'm working at one now. But people talk about being a plotter or a pantser. This was a full pantsing, like just seeing where the story went. I didn't really plan it. I didn't know what would happen. And so when Kambirinachi was like, no, excuse me, I will speak. That was happening to me. Like I was writing and then that happened and I'm like, whoa, okay. She wants to talk. Like I didn't think it through and I'm really happy that it panned out because it doesn't always. Like sometimes, the muse takes over and you're like, that's rubbish, thank you. But no thank you. But that panned out and I'm really grateful. And similarly with Ty, Ty wanted to speak for herself at times, and so I gave her letters. The character was not as she's not so much passive, but she's kind of just going with the flow. And so she didn't insist on speaking for herself. She was like, I might have something to say, please. And I was like, okay, you can write letters then. Um,
Write letters. Yeah.
yeah, and so that was her own way of taking some control or being like, from my point of view, Shab, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Whereas with Kenny, there was no negotiating. It was like, no, she needs to be the one after what has happened. She needs to be the one that says it. Um, and she's also the one who had, yeah, she was wounded. She was deeply, deeply wounded by this thing that happened. And it makes complete sense. But the freedom that Taye had with her body, Kende didn't. Even just like her appetites, the way she was moving in the world. Taye was down to dance and party and take lovers and do drugs. Kende was a bit more like, we'll see.
We'll see.
Um, yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Cambirinachi a bit
Hmm.
more, just a bit more, because I don't know, did we get enough of her in the book? But it's fine, no judgment. Okay, I'll be honest. I'm of the few because in the book club, in the Noisy Book Club, which you can be a part of today, in the Noisy Book Club, there was a lot of arguments about like, oh, this person didn't get enough. It felt like it was just Taye's story. But I don't
Hmm.
know, for some reason, I felt like everybody got what they needed. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like,
No,
maybe
you know
I'm
what
just
I think?
agreeable. Maybe I'm agreeable, but I think everybody got what they
Maybe.
needed.
I think this is my suspicion, and there's no way to ever really know. There's no right answer. I think that some readers might think Ty got more airtime because she was having fun. She was having fun, a lot of fun, in a very obvious way. And so her chapters were, I didn't think, to me, they weren't the heavy hitters, right? Like in terms of tension or climax, or there was just, she was chilling, she was having fun, she was growing up. Whereas Cambio, each chapter was pretty significant, like it was
Yes.
moving her story, it was moving there was an intense pace, I think. Similar, I mean, kind of got a bit of chilling, but every time something was happening, she met Wolfie and they had this moment, and then Wolfie was moving. She met Farouk and they were having this moment, oh, suddenly she's pregnant, right? Well, so
Yeah.
this is why I think the mood, I think the mood of Ty's chapters um was, I don't know the right word right now, but I think there's something to the mood of Ty's chapters that make it seem like she was getting the most. And maybe I don't know. This is my perspective. Um, yeah,
I just feel like once again, I just feel like everyone got what they needed, in my opinion, from consuming the book. Um, but I do agree with you in terms of people's perception, to be exact, in terms of people's perception of Taye. They feel like she got the most just because of the context of what she was doing. There's a way we see, let's just say, there's a way we see sex and people who are sexually active, sexually open to exploring,
yeah.
especially women who are open to exploring. And I feel like it may be like internal, I don't, not to be buzzwordy, but like internal misogyny, right? This
Honestly, I'm
Madonna
with
culture.
you. Yeah,
This Madonna culture of like women, because like Kehinde was more Madonna. It was the Madonna
Ty is whore.
Taye's whore,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I feel like we need to breathe a bit on Taye, but let me not start my own propaganda.
No,
Um,
it's okay. I saw this one review. This was back in the day when I used to read reviews. I don't anymore. But like, it's fine. I'm so grateful. I mean, I guess I still read them when they're nice. If they're not nice, I'm not reading them. But this negative review was like, oh, this book is just about this gay woman having sex all the time. And I was like, really? I just spent 7 years writing about one gay woman. But then even if it
Even
was,
that's what I was going to say. And so,
that was like, because at first I was like, damn, like I really thought I had more substance. And then within the next 20 minutes, I was like, actually, you know what? I want to read that book about this gay woman having sex all the time. Like that's fine
You
too.
there's still time to write it. There's still time to write it.
But yeah, like maybe it's a bit of that, like kind of bias, and maybe actually just page numbers. There's more about Thai. Maybe either way, I'm still grateful for what it shaped up to be. Yeah.
Read a small excerpt from the beginning of Wole Soyinka's Abiku, the
Hmm.
Yoruba belief that is put in front of it before the poem actually begins. And it says, Wanderer child, it is the same child who dies and returns again and again to plague the mother. And
Mm,
I remember looking to the poem. I remember looking to the poem when I saw one of your interviews where you talked about reading Abiku, reading Wole Soyinka's Abiku, and like having this like need and desire to make a story of an Ogbanje, right? And it really stuck with me. The child in itself that is born doesn't really have a control of whether they die over and over again. It's just their place in this world, right? And what is the process in writing a story? What's the process of divining your own
mhm,
Ogbanje? Because
mhm,
you're kind of like your Ogbanje is rebellious in the
mhm.
ecosystem of Ogbanjes. So how was it like divining
Yeah.
yours?
Yeah. So the first decision I had to make was whether or not I was going to write about an Abiku or an Abanje. And that came down to like resources. Like my mother's Yoruba, my father's Igbo. So I was like, okay, which side? But because I grew up with my father's family, my grandmother, when I started writing this, I was home with my grandmother. I was like, okay, this is the Banje is the one I have more immediate access to learning about. Um, yeah. And I didn't want to do too much academic research into sort of Igbo cosmology and where the Ogbanje fits there because one, it's not really anyone's business. Like if it's not your own, it's not, I'm not that interested in kind of handing over cultural beliefs for consumption in that way. And so my version of it, which is still very much rooted in the original around being born and dying and being born and like, the pain of that. I wanted to think of it more as like the Ogbanje as one being, and the child being born is like a facet of that being. So I don't know if you're familiar with Ifa, the Yoruba belief system, but like there is each Orisha is one facet of the same
Yes.
God, or even like of the same deity, or even like the Holy Trinity, for example, one God,
Father,
three.
the Son, the Holy Spirit.
Exactly. But that kind of like it's one being, which I decided to think of as like kin, like they are connected, but they're one. And the idea of I, like individuation, is just for the moment of being born, and then you die and you go back to the collective and you're one again. And so that idea, that's kind of where I was like, okay, this is how I want to think about the Ogbanje. And I wanted to think of this calling back to death as quite irresistible. So it's not a conscious decision. It's a natural impulse. And
Everything is
it's
a
not
door.
exactly. And it's not the Ogbanje being wicked and wanting to hurt the mother. It's like, no, this is how I am. Like, this is just how things are. This is the way of existence. And yeah, and even when I personified death in one of Cambria chapters where she's like trying to negotiate with death, and I personified death, and death is like, that's not how things are. There's an order to things, and just because you've decided to violate that order doesn't mean I'm going to. And so that's the idea, like the idea that there's this order to things, the advantages exist in this cycle, and Cambria broke that cycle, and so her
Yeah.
whole life she's haunted by that. Um, yeah, those are like some of the things I was thinking of when I was like exploring this Ogbanje, and I know, and yeah, that's it.
Don't be scared, but also be scared. Um,
It's also
there's a lot.
scary. I don't know. I don't know if when you grew up, you were. I was always afraid of Abikus because I saw one. I don't know. I think a Yoruba movie when I was a kid, and I was like Abiku, Abiku, Abiku. Anyway, so I was wanting to make it less scary and more natural. Yeah.
Yes, I didn't feel scared of Cambria like the way I have like wondered about like Obanjes and gotten a chill at this, like, through my spine. I didn't feel scared. In fact, I felt almost empathetic, you know, for Cambria. Um, but still on the topic of Cambria being, um, another point of debate in the book club, and I'm sure amongst other readers, was the factuality of her being,
Mm.
of her Ogbanjeism, her Ogbanjeness. So like,
I like a
um,
banjaism.
Ogbanjeism. In the context of the world you've created, is she exactly what you have described, or she's something more? Because, like, I know that, like, in your head, while writing the story, is there what truth do you have for Cambria? I want to know, please, please.
So that's the thing. Like I believe her, and that so that first line, the first line of the novel, not the beginning. What am I talking about? I
Yeah.
don't have a copy of my book. Um,
I'm trying to find this.
yeah, the first line of Cambiorinachi's chapter where it says like if Cambiorinachi were to tell it, this is what she'll say. Um,
Yes.
it's from her
If you
point
have,
of view.
I should tell it.
Yeah, I believe her. I believe her own experience of her life because why not? Why not?
Not. Why not?
This is what she believes about herself. This is why her understanding of why her mother left her understanding of the scar behind her neck, her understanding of how she sees beyond what other people see. Um, and there was a review once that it was a positive review, but it said, yeah, the schizophrenic mother. And I was like, I don't know if I said though, I'm not a psychiatrist. No, I didn't say she's schizophrenic. I didn't do any research into schizophrenia. I don't know, but I found that really interesting, right? The way that we want to kind of add rational ideas onto supernatural or irrational concepts or things. Um, so I believe her. I also believe Kande's experience, which is their mother was not well. I think Yeah, I think honestly, I think I'm kind of in the Taya camp in terms of I accept her as she is presenting herself. I recognize the unfortunate consequence of um, straddling two worlds, when you have children. Um, but I believe I can bring Achi, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll take it. I'll take it. I think my final question for Cabrinachi would be that, like, yes, Cabrinachi gave up a life of her kin to stay human, to stay with her family, her father, her mother, her aunt, and then children and husband. But be it Ogbanje, be it schizophrenic, or clinically depressed, you know, growing up with a mom like the one she had, do you think she was doomed to be a failure as a mother? Either way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when her husband died,
She
she
just
had no
broke.
real grasp. Yeah, she had no real grasp of like material reality. Like when you're a spirit, I imagine being a spirit. Spirits don't have to pay rent. Spirits
Mm,
don't have to wash their clothes or cook. Human beings do. We do. So no matter how enlightened or how removed from material reality you want to be, as long as you have a body and you're here,
yeah.
there are rules. Especially if you're not wealthy, especially if you don't come from money. Like there are rules.
Thing.
Yeah, and in the story I built, like Banji, earned like a decent enough living. He made financial choices. He was a finance guy. He made financial choices, which means the twins got to live without too much fear,
Yeah,
too
even
much
after his death.
precarity. even after his death, like too much precarity, which like isn't that the fantasy, right? But and so because of that, Cambrian actually didn't have to think about, oh my God, my children, how will they eat? But she checked out. So I think the moment he passed, she she was sort of doomed to fail her children, right? But she's also, I don't know, I think even if she was an Ogbanje, um, people are just people. Like parents are people. You know, I saw this a thing
Spirits
online a
are
few
just
months ago.
spirits.
Spirits are just spirits.
She's
But
just
this
a
thing,
girl.
literally, I was about to say, I saw this thing online of some guy being like, I saw pictures of my mom and she was in her 20s teaching English in Spain, and she was just a girl. She's
She's
just a
just a
girl.
girl.
I'm like,
Exactly.
girl, yeah. She was just a spirits girl trying to figure some things out.
Please, please, please. Oh, I do love Cambria. Oh, I never got to tell you my favorite character. My favorite character
Please.
was, yeah, my favorite character was Timmy,
Yes, of
actually.
course, I know. So my Timmy, no, I only say I know.
It's a lie. You just said you clocked me. You just
I
said you clocked
only
me.
said I know because Timmy is one of my favorite characters. It's
Yeah.
Kehinde and Timmy. Timmy. Please tell me why Timmy is your favorite character.
Very good, because this informs my next question. Because my next question was going to be about like men and the relationships that they have with the women in this story. Um, Timmy is someone who has played with the idea of doing something daft.
Mm,
And wow, and he plays a small part in the
mm,
very large life of Taye Kendi and Kambi. But if you really sit down and study Timmy, he's so significant. He's very significant. Many people
yeah,
have played with the idea of something daft
mm,
because of who they are, because
mm-hmm,
of where they come from, and because of the people that judge them for who they are.
mm-hmm,
He survived it and he
mm-hmm,
chose himself.
mm-hmm,
And every day, I want to be Timmy.
mm,
You know, I want to be Timmy. I want to choose myself. And I thank you so much for writing such a vulnerable, real experience,
mm,
because it is real. It is real. He did it. It
mm,
failed. He
mm,
he bounced back from it and he chose himself. So he's not perfect. He succumbed to it. He
mm,
succumbed to it. But he got another chance and he fully chose himself. And forever I'll be grateful to you, Francesca, for giving me
mm.
Timmy. Sorry, I said that selfishly because I'm not the only one.
Oh no, I really appreciate hearing that because Timmy is so special to me. And so, you know, when I said if I could rewrite this book, if I was writing it today, it would be a different book. Timmy, I think the book would just be about Timmy.
We,
I
we,
love
we can always get a sequel, a spin-off series. You are a filmmaker.
Timmy.
Cast
I love
Timmy in a
Timmy so
HBO series.
much. Oh my God. He you know, he's informed, you know, this friend doesn't know it, but he's loosely informed by a friend of mine who I love so much. Like when I was writing to me, this is the friend I was seeing in my mind. But yeah, yeah, Timmy is sort of like an angel in my mind. I imagine the scene, like when Ty first met him, the scene of him singing with the top, like that came to my mind so
Yeah.
crystal clear.
Halo in the
I was
background.
just like, yes, this guy. So crystal clear. There was so much more in it about their adventures together, but in the editing process, it had to be pared down. But yeah, Timmy is really special to me.
Release the Francesca cuts. Release Francesca
Oh,
cuts.
yeah.
But it's
Oh,
okay. Yeah, but
Timmy.
like, yeah. Thank you. Talking about men, were the male characters in the novel like intentionally created to be so
Two
supportive
dimensional.
and kind and
Oh,
sweet? I mean, we do get the two-dimensional bad man who did a
exactly.
very bad thing, but
Exactly.
it's such a it's a one-off, even though it's a catalyst for everything that spiraled. But the men, they're so sweet and nice, and you rarely get that. You rarely get that in African fiction, especially
Yeah,
concerning African women who are
yeah,
loving
yeah,
men.
yeah. It's okay. So the truth is, this is one of the things, and I think I said this in a different interview. This is one of the things that's very much be pulled from my own experience. I don't really know men. The men I know are very lovely. They're sweet and nice.
Oh, you wrote your reality.
I was my reality. I think of my brothers. My father is late now. He died when I was very young, but everything I've ever heard about him, he was lovely. He was a sweet, lovely, generous, kind man, you know. So a friend of mine did say, like, Francesca, because I write short stories. I love short stories. And this friend of mine reads my work, and they were like, why do you kill all the fathers? And I was like, shit, I did not. It wasn't a plan.
You
And
did kill
yet,
all the fun.
it's what I know. It's what I know. And in the manuscript I'm working on now, I'm just like, oh my God, am I about to do the same thing? Like, but I do have a challenge to myself to complicate the men more, right? So now in my writing, well, not the men, the fathers, to complicate the fathers more. But it really, for Butter Honey Pig Red, it's what I knew. Fathers are nice and then they die. And the meat of the relationships, the complicated relationships, the contentious ones are with mothers, they're with sisters, they're with women, they're with friends. So it was me writing what I know, and somebody's, oh, and then there's the one-off bad guy. There's the one-off
Yeah.
bad man who's like bad, and then you flee for your life because there's that one bad man. So I was writing what I knew, and I would do it differently. I would really complicate it. The fathers, not the bad men. The bad men don't need any nuance; they can just be bad. Um, yeah. So it was me writing what I know. I also like I'm really not trying to like bat for men. Like everyone deal with the consequences of your actions. Um, but I don't know. I want to when I read, I don't want to be miserable. And some of my favorite works are brilliant, brilliant, and miserable. And like some of my favorite books that I've read and I speak highly about this. Like it's so good, but also miserable. And I just didn't want to be miserable. And I know
That's
I'm
your
saying
prerogative.
yeah. I know there's a lot of misery in Butter Honey Pig Bread, like to be fair. But I just didn't want it to be with men. I didn't want to center them that much. Yeah.
At the end of the day, basically there was an argument in the book club when we were discussing the book, and they were like, but this is not the reality of African women, especially women that go to the diaspora, dark skin, 4C hair. This isn't their reality. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, at the end of the day, for me, I felt like the story got the men it needed because I feel like if it even focused on the men, even as much as I love Timmy, I feel like if it had focused on him a bit more, focused on Wolfie a bit more, it wouldn't have been the story that it needed to be, which was,
Mm-hmm.
in my definition, a story about reconciliation.
Mm-hmm.
Story about reconciliation and who are the people that are reconciling these three women.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good to be able to pick up an African book and not feel so miserable, like you said, and I'm
I
very
just
good.
want to show you that I'm not smoking. It's just my candle.
No,
The
I
candle has
I
burnt.
know, I know, I know, I know, I
But
know.
I want to say something. I want to say something about, the reality of Black dark-skinned women with 4C hair. And I understand that we are consuming the media we're consuming. We live in a world just rife with injustice. Of course. The 2 degrees I have are basically in injustice. But I also know that, like, oh man, like there's infinite possibilities, right? It's like I know that. I know in the same world where like dark skinned Black women with like 4C hair are fighting for their lives, fighting to be perceived as desirable and worthwhile and valuable. I know in this same world, there are like dark skinned Black women who are like beloved, beloved. And especially from as a Nigerian woman who grew up in Nigeria, writing about Nigeria. I'm beautiful in Lagos. I'm a babe in Lagos. I'm a dark skinned Black woman with 4C hair in Lagos, my babe. I'm a babe here. Whether or not it's perceived or comprehended is the fact. And so I didn't, yeah, again, I definitely don't want to be seeing dark skinned Black women suffer in my writing. I don't. I'm never going to be okay with that. I'm not going to like sugarcoat or write a fantasy world. I mean, I do because I like speculative fiction, but I'm not going to like pretend that the obstacles, the isms and schisms, I'm not going to pretend they don't exist. But I'm also not going to like act as if that's all that exists because it's not, you know. I hope that makes sense. And again, of course, I wasn't
No,
to the book
it
club.
perfectly does. It perfectly does. It's basically you have to merge. You have to meet the reality where the story is at. You have to meet your reality where the story is at, and I think you did. I think you did a good job. I think you really did. But then again, there's only so much I can say because I am not a woman. You know, I'm not a woman. I'm not a black woman, especially. But I'm just
Yeah,
grateful. Yeah, you know, I'm just grateful to see Kehinde, most especially Kehinde and Cambrinacci, be in good relationships with men.
I know,
You know,
I
and have
know,
them. You
I
know,
know. Like this is not the first time I've heard the like, but they're just too good.
So yes, I think it's time we talk about something that I love.
Okay,
Oh my God, do you want to guess what I love? You
the
have one
food,
guess.
the food.
Food! Okay, so I know you said just to get it quick, because you know the book has been out for a minute now. So I know you said that
Different. I'm
Butterheart
different now than when that book came out. You know.
exactly. Um, the book had a different title, A Tender on Kindness. You
Gosh,
know,
yeah.
there was even one before that.
If you're the one who stays the longest,
If you're the one who stays the longest.
yeah.
And I
I love
personally
a long
cannot,
title.
you know, I do love a long title, Tortured Poets Department, you know. I do love a long title, but you know, I just cannot imagine this food. No, I was going to say this food. I just cannot imagine this book being named anything other than butter, honey, pig, bread.
Oh,
Even from how the acts are named to just not just because I know that Taye is the chef, is the cook, but even Kehinde has experience with food,
oh
you
yeah.
know.
She worked in a
Kehinde, you
restaurant.
know, she worked in a restaurant.
Oh, Wolfie was a cook. Yeah.
Was a wolf was a cook. She saw pigs getting slaughtered. She
Yeah.
cooks mussel with her sister. You know, how did you know? I have two questions, you know, before we like move into the next like segment of this. How did you know that like while writing it that like oh my food is going to play such a huge role
Mm,
in the binding.
mm,
Food is going to be a binding agent in this
mm,
story. And also to wrap it to wrap that question off, if you had a falling out with somebody and
mm.
words were not enough, what would you cook for that dear person in your life?
Aw, okay. Okay, so I didn't know that food would be, but I love that description of binding agent for the stuff. That's perfect. I didn't know, but that's exactly, thank you. I didn't know. I just genuinely followed my interest, which is what I tell my students, like just follow your interest. I love food, I mean, long throats. And but like beyond food, I love food media. Like I love books. A bunch. I'm looking at my bookshelf above me, and I have a lot of cookbooks and just books about, um, just food writing. Um, and yeah, watching whenever we had DSTV, watching like BBC Food and Food Network, like
Network. I
even
love
like
Chopped.
I love Chop, but even like there was a Maggie cooking show. I don't remember the name, but I remember on NTA growing up. I'm aging myself. On NTA growing up, there's a Maggie cooking show. Um, but yeah, I just love food and food writing, so I wanted to include that. There's a way, I like sensuous literature. I like to read. When I read, I want to feel like all my senses are engaged. And there's, really cool books that use scent a lot, scent, and like visceral descriptions. and I wanted to have food play that role as well. Um, and yeah, making one of them a chef or cook or someone interested in cooking is a helpful way to do that. Um, and I'm thinking of even Cambria Natchez chapters when her mother was making pepper soup. Um, One of the a food blog I followed for years and years and years and years is Kitchen Butterfly. She has a whole like the anatomy of pepper soup spices, you know. So that's a blog that I've loved, and I would read it and get inspired. So that's how food ended up in the book. And the truth is, food in a lot of my fiction, food shows up, um, because I like it. Um, and then if I had a falling out and I was making something, these days it's plantain. It's just like fried plantain. Fried plantain and egg stew. Or
To
like,
bring a little sweetness to the situation.
yeah. And I know boiled plantain is healthier. My grandmother used to make us, you know, eat boiled
Ooh.
boiled green plantain. But I would do fried plantain, decadence. Make it real. I'm not trying to make it healthy, I'm trying to make it sweet. So fried plantain, something spicy, like, stew. I love shrimp. I love shrimp. It's like shrimp stew, maybe. Yeah. Filling and very delicious, and the kind of food where you have to rest after, you can like run out. You have to
Yeah,
like sit and digest for a few hours. Yeah.
amazing. Amazing. I hope we never have a falling out, but I do want that plantain next year. I would cook pepper soup. I would make catfish pepper soup.
Oh, yeah. You have to make
Yeah,
pepper soup.
I do know how to.
I find it hard.
It is, I thought it was complicated until I began. And my mantra in life is the clarity comes in the doing. And then just do, and it's so
I
just
love
happen.
that. I was watching like a short, like, motivational reel recently, and the person said the bridge will appear as you take the steps, the bridge appears as you step forward. And I
You
like
step
that.
forward, you
Yeah,
know.
I like
Exactly.
that.
And to wrap that up a bit, like what just talked about, right, the food is important to you. It's a part of how you grew up, and it's like a part of what you love, like the writing and the exploration of like food, right? And it all goes back to like the process and like becoming the person that has this practice now, especially for writing your debut. It's you have to write. For me, I believe that you have to write what you know to be able to
Mm,
then like create something that is completely outside of you. For me, to me, that's the sacrifice. At the beginning, at the stage, you have to give into the craft, into the practice, expel yourself, expunge the
mm,
horrible, expunge the chaotic, you know,
mm.
expunge the beautiful. And then once you've done that, once you've gifted yourself that and given it to the practice, then you'll be able to maybe, hopefully, for sure, create
Mm.
something that's completely outside of you.
Rilke, Rainer Murray Rilke, poet, from the olden days. There's a collection of letters called Letters to a Young Poet. And it's a young soldier writing to Rilke to be like, "Hi, I want to be a poet like you. How can I do it?" And Rilke says, like, "Well, you start with what you have, right? Think about your childhood, think about your solitude. You write what you have, what you know." But essentially, he was like the first write what you know guy. Um, Mine your own interiority, and then become a master before you step into the arena of the well trodden, is what he says. But no, I'm in agreement. Yeah,
Amazing, amazing. So we're going to answer two quick questions
sure
from
thing.
members of the book club, the Noisy Book Club. Just two quick questions. So the first question is from someone whose alias is Les Enfants Terribles.
Ah, there's a terrible. You know what that
Um,
is in like the literary scene?
no, I don't. I do not. I
An
do. I know
enfant
what it
terrible.
directly translates to.
Yeah, it refers to sort of a genius, like a young writer who publishes young, and their book is amazing. And enfant terrible in literature is like, I was certainly not an enfant terrible because I was 30 when my book came out. But if I was 23 when it came out, then I would be an enfant terrible.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to be an enfant terrible, but
Go
time is
for it.
going.
No, no, no. Do it.
The clarity will come. So, Les Enfants Terribles says the novel blurs the lines between the spiritual and the psychological. How much of Kambi's belief in being an Ogbanje did you intend to be seen as truth, as a true supernatural force versus psychological issues due to past and trauma? And could the same be asked about Taye too? So I think you've kind of given like an answer
Yeah.
to the first part. So Taye, and I'm guessing this is because of like Our Lady.
Yes, yes, and that makes sense. And I appreciate the question. And I don't think this person did like my answer because I'm going to ask you to be open in a way that I think my people, Nigerians, don't like to be. But I'm going to first talk about a podcast that I listen to in general. It's called Ologies. It's really interesting. It's each episode is about one specific like scientific area. So like time, the space-time continuum or rabbits, and it's like the podcast will talk to an expert. It's a very popular podcast. I'll send it to you. But there's an episode on dark matter, I think, or dark energy. How do I say this? But they, like physicists are aware that there is dark matter in space on Earth. There's just dark matter. What it means is we don't have the senses to perceive it. We just don't. Our eyes are, we don't. But there are animals that have a wider range of senses. And listen, I just want to first say, I am not a scientist. I am not an expert. I am merely summarizing my understanding of what an expert said about dark matter. And I will share the podcast with you. But
Amen.
basically, like, there's so much we cannot perceive. We don't need scientists to tell us that. There's just so much we cannot perceive, whether we like it or not. And we have across cultures, there are different ways of, you know, comprehending this incomprehensible. I'm reading this book called Of Water and the Spirits right now by Malidoma Patrice Some, and he is of the Gaga tribe, which is in Burkina Faso, and they have a very rich and deep spiritual belief system. Um, some of which you'll be reading and be like, that sounds like made up nonsense. But who am I to tell him about his own spiritual practice and his own people? So beyond like even calling it spirituality, it's scientifically like there's so much that we cannot explain, right? So that said, I am very open to people telling me their own experiences of things and me being like, you know what? Fair enough, I wasn't there.
Fair enough.
And I lend that to my characters. Kimberly naturally says in Ogbanje. She's in Ogbanje, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I wrote it. I should know, but I don't. Tyra is seen an apparition. She's extremely lonely. She's seen an apparition that she's talking to. It doesn't really matter whether or not it's real. It matters that it's real to the character and it's informing her behavior. There's a TED talk. I don't remember the speaker, but I will look for it. And he's talking about depression and mental illness and the way different cultures address them. And he says two things. He says, one, if you're extremely suicidal or you're having a terrible time, and you start standing on your head, and for you, standing on your head is making you feel better. Standing on your head is making you feel better.
It's making you feel better.
It's making you feel
What
better.
else? What else can you do?
Well, and then there's something else he says, and I really need to find it because I always want to cite my sources. That like, even like medically diagnosed mental illnesses, they display differently depending on the culture. And this person was saying how in parts of the global north, like the US, the UK, people who are diagnosed with psychiatric conditions where they're hallucinating, um, oftentimes the hallucinations are asking them to do violent things. But in some Eastern cultures, the hallucinations are just making inappropriate jokes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making them laugh. And it's informed by culture. And so again, that's another thing I'm open to is I don't know. I don't know,
You don't
but I'm
know.
open.
And I think in terms of like speaking like to channel my inner Ogbanje, possibly, um, you have to do what you can for the story. You are a vessel. You're a vessel for the story. You
Oh
have to.
yeah, I believe that very much. Yeah, I believe that very, very much. Um, if you ever read The Artist's Way, which is about,
Julia Cameron.
yes, she references that. And what Rick Rubin, he also has a book that's quite similar to The Artist's Way. It's about creativity. I'll find you the name and so I'll give it to you. But he says that as well. And I think so many thinkers across history have really referenced creative expression as this energy that comes through you should you allow yourself. In fact, even if you don't allow yourself, it will happen. Whether or not you like it, whether it becomes something or not is up to you as a vessel, but like creative energy is flowing through us all the time. You know? Yeah.
I agree. Thank you. Our second question was just speed it up. Is hot from Hot Roxy. And they say, why did you make the decision to have Camby kill herself right before the birth of her grandchild? I can't help but think that that might end up causing some more friction between the newly reconciled twins, because after all, she was supposed to be in Taiwo's care. But Taiwo let a mad woman, travel on her own, and bam, she died.
Fair enough.
I am not Hot Roxy, but I wish she saw her grandchild. I know she technically saw her grandchild, but like I wish she was with her grandchild.
No, fair enough. That's so fair. Fair enough. Fair enough. I for that I was playing with like the cyclical nature of like, death and birth, death and rebirth, that kind of flow. But the book had to end somewhere.
It did. And my favorite thing about that ending and how it ended is that it's very cinematic. It's very, very cinematic. Very, very it's third act ending. Like very like, okay, this
Hmm.
is the close. She rises
Hmm.
up. I love it. I love it. It's like if it ever gets adapted into film, I that is what I'm like looking for the most.
Mm,
Also, where Kamberachi takes away, her father's sickness and
mm.
pushes it off. I think that's like my favorite scene, like in the entire. It's just like, whoa, I love her.
I love her too. I remember being where I was and I wrote. I was at work. I was standing writing it. But yeah, I remember.
And you were
And
like,
I
I
want to.
ate that.
Not for real. Like, it was visual again. Like some scenes come really visually, and that came really visually. But I want to say, like, I still appreciate this conversation because it's been long enough now since the writing of the book, the publishing of the book, the existence of the book that I can look back with much more lightness, and without feeling the need to give a proper answer. And so to Les Enfants Terribles and Hot Roxy, my answers may not make sense, but that's so is the end. Thank you for asking. Thank you for reading.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so let's play a quick game.
Okay.
Very quick, sharp, sharp game. Don't worry, don't fear. It's very simple. You just have to say what you would choose. Is it this or that game?
Okay.
And since this book is filled with so much food, I'm going to ask you to choose between a couple meals.
Okay.
Couple Nigerian meals, obviously. So, buns or puff puff?
Puff puff, because we're talking about yeast puff puff, yeast fried. What
Yes.
buns? What buns?
You don't know buns. Buns is harder. It's a bit harder. It's not as soft.
Sweeter.
It's not as soft.
It's harder
Yes.
and sweeter, flakier crust.
Yes,
Puff
exactly.
puff, puff puff,
But yeah,
puff.
they fry the body a bit more crunchy. Okay. Jollof or fried rice?
Jollof, but like proper jollof, as in outside, made
Outside the
outside of
smoky.
firewood, smoky
Yeah,
jollof. Yeah.
exactly.
Fried
I feel
rice
like
can go.
Yeah, fried rice. You can get, you can manage like the average fried rice, but like good jollof is
Mm,
unbeatable every time. Um, Amala or semo.
amala,
Don't tell anybody I agree.
amala.
Yeah, Zobo or Chapman.
Zobo, what is Chapman? Do you know what Chapman
What
is?
is Chapman? Let's actually ask the
I was
audience.
thinking
What
about it
even is Chapman?
recently. What is Chapman?
What is
Zobo.
Chapman? Zobo is. Oh my god! I remember you saying something about being like cringing when you think about the fact that you would write Zobo hibiscus drink,
I'm still ashamed.
because
I'm still
but
ashamed. Because I was
sleepy
trying really
dogs,
hard not to
sleepy
like
dogs are lying,
over
and that's fine.
translate, not to like over describe. But there were some moments where I did and I still cringe, but it's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we have two left.
Okay.
Chin chin or meat pie?
Ooh. Where's the meat pie from?
Mr. Biggs, but like
No, chin
2003.
meat pie.
Meat pie,
Olden
exactly.
days meat pie.
Olden
Meat pie
days
from the
meat pie.
past.
When there was meat
There was meat
inside.
inside.
When Mr. Biggs had a playground inside
Like meat
every
pie of my
store.
childhood. Yes.
And then last but not least, jollof rice or rice and stew. And don't answer yet. This is a fact. This is our newfound acquaintanceship. This question is very delicate. Jollof rice or rice and stew.
I have questions. Is it, I don't know if this will make sense. Is it Yoruba stew? Fried pepper.
Palm oil, like fried in palm oil.
Oh, yes, yes.
With
Rice and
iru,
stew. Rice
rice
and
and thank you.
stew.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Rice and stew.
I
The
knew
moment you
we
said
were
palm
kin.
oil, the
I
moment you
knew
said
you were
palm oil,
calling to me from the other side. I'm sorry, but like rice and stew is the staple. That is people talk about how jollof rice is the Nigerian food, but like
yeah,
no,
it's
it's rice
party
and
food.
stew.
It's rice and stew.
It's
Do you know how
party
much
food.
rice and stew I've eaten in my life? Like
I feel like
rice
if
and
somebody came
stew.
to me, I was like, "Oh, you can only ever eat rice and stew till the day you die,"
That's
and I'm like,
fine.
"I'm fine."
That's fine. I'll put boiled egg. I'll change the meat. I'll change it. It's fine. Rice and stew.
Rice and stew. Thank you. Okay, so for participating, like
Of
really
course.
giving it
That
your
was
all
fun.
and asking the hard questions about where did the meat come from. I really appreciate it. So, to the last part of this, you already mentioned that you're working on a manuscript, and I was containing my excitement, but are you excited for yourself, one novel? Are you excited about the process itself? And
Mm,
in typical Ogbanje fashion, what is your ritual in
mm.
writing this? In writing this, and maybe even writing in general.
Yeah, I like to because before when I was young and had energy, anywhere, anywhere, anytime, I'll be taking notes, typing notes, recording, writing. That still happens, but that's not what I depend on to finish a story. What I depend on is to sit at my desk, light a candle, say a little prayer, and outline. I strongly believe, even if it's a basic outline, that's what I mean. I've changed the most basic outline. This happens and this happens and this happens. I find that to be very helpful to getting the story out because I don't want to wait 7 years before my next novel. I don't want to take 7 years to write a novel. So there's just a bit more planning required. But yeah, sitting down at a desk, lighting a candle, outlining, and writing is hard and you will certainly will have to revise multiple times, but you have to start by writing something. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I'm excited to see what it comes to be. I'm excited because you also seem excited. So
Oh, I'm so thrilled. I'm enjoying myself. I hope readers enjoy it too. We'll see. I'm definitely I'm very much in process. So yeah.
I love that. I love that because I've spoken to a couple writers and they don't always say they enjoy themselves, which is understandable because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. They're great at it. It's a lot of work. So it's very refreshing and also different to hear I'm enjoying myself. So thank you.
I mean, the enjoyable parts. I mean, the revisions. The guessing at the first draft is not easy. It's not
Okay,
that
you
much
just
fun.
had to give me the caveat.
Yes, the revision is fun because you're like shaping things, but the dragging it out, hmm, yeah,
Great, that's great. Yeah, we have fortunately, fortunately
yeah.
come to the end of this chat. It was such a pleasure talking to
Likewise.
you. I feel like I could have asked many more questions, and I do hope that our paths cross again.
I
So
hope
I
so
could.
too, Benny.
How did
Thank
you feel?
you. Oh, I've had so much fun. I'm really grateful.
So yeah, this has been the author book chat with Francesca Ekwuyasi, where we discuss butter honey pig bread. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Noisy Book Club podcast. We can't wait to have you again, Francesca.
Thank you.
Day.
You
Bye.
too. Take care.